going to have a bunch of those people on soon. Tracy's lining them up. So thanks so much.
Yeah, I mean, it was not just cheerleading, happy talk, hanging out. I mean, it was, you got real stuff about what's coming, what's in the offing. And I think that was very important. So, and I was glad to get a chance. Do you know that? I think it's the first time we've ever actually met in person, isn't it?
No, we met at Vegas before.
I'm trying to think what it was.
When we saw the one movie.
Yeah, when I had you out there for Jim's movie.
Yeah, Drink of Easels, yeah.
Well, by the way, I don't know if people know this. I think I'm okay to say something. He has another movie coming out.
Ooh.
And he'll be releasing that, or the studio's releasing that here shortly. And so I'll kind of want to tune everybody up on that as we get closer. But that's about to be released right now. So,
if it's about the resurrection, that would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they wanted to have a younger actor in there, and there's all sorts of whatever, Hollywood being Hollywood. So, but I would have loved to seen Jim in the resurrection. I know he probably would have liked to too, but it's the business. So we'll just take a deep breath, move on. Yep. Other opportunities opened up. So anyway, by the way, and I don't think I've told you yet, we just committed in the last few hours. We are going to, I did the event last week. I wanted to make sure that we were there, knew what we were talking about on the Bondgate stuff, and get all the experts in. And it's such an important thing, such an important subject. And there's other stuff coming on right now also. So what we've got is we've got a follow-up to that we just committed to June 15, 16, 17 in Vegas at the Ahern. Also, it's not a huge event, about 500, but you had 100 there when I had them in last week. And we're going to have a number of the same speakers, plus a few that are additions to build this out. And that event, the 15th, 16th, 17th of June, those tickets will go on sale tomorrow morning sometime. They'll be over at Unauthorized. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
And put it out a couple of other places, but that event will be epic, and the tickets are $350 a piece. But we're providing meals. There's hors d'oeuvres the first night, which is a Monday night, the 15th. Let everybody get in, get settled, and we're going right into it. Tuesday morning, we have a full breakfast, not the cheapo, croissant or something and coffee, but, sausage, eggs, fruit, the quality stuff for breakfast the next morning. And then at 9 o'clock, we start right into the speakers, go all day. We have lunch catered and not the crap lunch, an actual for real beautiful, high quality lunch. At the Ahern, they really do a super job on the catering, and so we're going.
Yeah, they got great food there. I was impressed.
Well,
even better than Trump's hotel.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this: the problem is, and this from being at the Ahern, they've got some restaurants right there, but outside of about 3 restaurants within just the block. Right. And the one inside the Ahern, it's not easy to get to other restaurants. And so, and then they're expensive. So by having a quality, not a crap breakfast, lunch, dinner, all 3 of them are buffet style, but quality food. I mean, you saw with what we had for lunch the other day, there was an excellent lunch and a lot of variety in there too, and all that.
Everything is great at the Ahern. Yeah, the rooms
Yeah.
are great. The place where we had the event, fantastic. The security there. I was like, I hope they have really good security here while doing this event. And they,
yeah,
so
they pulled it out. They did fantastic. And I had a number of agency people from various agencies who were there. So I'll just tell you a funny story. So a couple of them came in with sidearms, concealed, and were immediately detained until they provided their credentialing. Nothing got past anybody there at the Ahern. They were very right on the money. The folks did a fantastic job there.
Yeah.
And we'll have similar for this event.
Good to hear.
But, the breakfast, lunch, and a nice dinner, because I want people to kind of stay there and enjoy each other's company, actually spend time, because it's a conclave in part. We'll have some astounding speakers there, but it's also about sharing the information. When people take off, got to go somewhere else, just get a bite to eat, and then they don't get back in time, they miss stuff. It's so dense with the stuff we got that I want people to be able to get the full meal deal here. And then we have breakfast and lunch on the third day also.
Wow.
So that $350 covers a lot. And then we have only 130 rooms. Might be able to get 150 here. We'll know in a few hours in the morning here.
Okay.
But at $99 a room. So again, a very, very, very reasonable thing for what we're doing. And then, we only get it'll be about 500 people, so it won't be overpacked or something like that. It'll be a great meeting, but those tickets will go on sale in the morning. And I'll send you a link for it for folks who want to be there. When they're gone, because and then there's a little sneaker there. We're fighting hard. This situation with Tina is such a son of a gun, and but even with what happened today in court and some other things that are going on behind the scenes, there's a fair chance we'll have Tina available to us, and she'll be the belle of the ball if we get her there. So, you want to be at the first thing that she gets to be at when she's out, probably, or one of the first. That would be it. She's a very close friend. Jen and I had her at our place in Hawaii for a couple of weeks, before the trials a couple of years back, and I was the first one to get a chance to talk with her after she did her presentation over at Lindell's thing, and we spent about 5 hours kind of wading through what was about to happen because she'd made that presentation. So we've been very close all the way along. So one of the funny things is that Pat Byrne and I were both working on this, and we're communicating, we're texting, we're emailing, we're trying to sort something out. Because Tina's case had gone sideways before the trial stuff, and looking at other attorneys and all that. And I finally leave where I'm at in Buenos Aires, and he asked me, "Where are you?" And I said, "Well, I just left my hotel in Buenos Aires." He says, "What hotel?" And I tell him. He says, "Well, that's where I'm at. I've been here for like a week." "When did you get here?" "About a week ago." We're literally down the hall from each other, trying to wade through the situation on Tina's case and things that need to be done. And we're down the hall from each other, didn't even know it. Communicating like we're on the other sides of the planet from each other. It was very funny. But, we've been in this on Tina's thing for quite a while. And so in the course of everything else that we're doing, I have high hopes, but we'll see what happens. We're not promising that. We've had commitments from several speakers. They won't be on the flyer when it's listed tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We'll add the speakers as we get in writing that they're committed, and that'll happen over the next few days. But those tickets will probably go very quickly. So if anybody wants to be at that, you might want to be Johnny on the spot in the morning and be ready to dive in. It'll be worth it.
Excellent. Yeah. Look forward to it.
And by the way, just so people know, let me just dive in for a second. Everybody's stressed out on Tina's situation. What's going on right now? The appeals court gave a decision, and they said that they weren't going to force that Tina gets released on the on Trump's pardon. They chose not to agree to that. They agreed that her conviction was valid. So their attitude was that she needs to, suffer, for a crime, which is bullshit. And then what they did decide was that the sentence that she was given was improper. And the reason is because she has a First Amendment right to speak her mind. When the judge sentenced her, he went out of his way to say that Tina had, no remorse and made all these statements that weren't true and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she has a right to speak her mind. That's First Amendment. So he told the court, the people, that she was getting a harsher sentence because of the fact that she had said all these things and was unrepentant. And so the appeals court there in Colorado said, you can't do that. That's wrong. And so you've got to re-sentence her correctly, appropriately. And that her sentence was excessive, and the judge had acknowledged that. Now, the judge has already shown, as far as we're concerned, he wouldn't let evidence in concerning certain things that should have stopped the trial from ever even happening in the first place. He just didn't even let evidence in. With that in mind, we think, he was off his rocker to begin with. But within what the appeals court has said, they're only going to consider that her sentencing was wrong. So they're remanding the case back to the judge to re-sentence her correctly without the extra sentence for, saying things that he didn't think she should say. And he's punishing her for saying them.
That happened in I went to a J6 trial, and the judge did the same thing of that.
And, her not being penitent and everything else, that's where the governor's saying, well, I can't pardon her because she's not, she's not penitent and apologizing for her crime and everything else. So with that in mind, the defense team is going to ask for a new judge, I believe, to handle the sentencing. And this judge is already, because he gave her a sentence that was incorrect in the way it was done, they need a judge that's less biased. But even the trial, they didn't address the bias in the way that the trial was done, where she didn't get to present really a defense. So, but the appeals court didn't agree to that. There's stuff that can go to the state Supreme Court in Colorado and be argued again. And they'll no doubt put some of those motions in also, in order to exhaust every possible remedy, if you will. And you have to do that before you can go in, any federal court or U.S. Supreme Court, things like that. What really should happen here, and is the direction where is that there should be, while she's in this resentencing period, there should be some consideration. She should have been able to get out on bond to begin with while her sentencing and her trial were being appealed, the whole thing, and they do that. They didn't let her be out on bond in any way or like that, because the likelihood is that somewhere along the way, the whole thing is going to be overturned as it gets into higher courts. But that was part of the deal with the judge involved in the trial. He wanted her punished from day one as a political statement. So in the course of saying that, we think that has to be revisited, that there should be the ability for Tina to get out on bond while they're working through, should she have even gone to trial in the first place. So they're going to readdress that issue. It's possible that she could get released on bond. However, this judge is still the judge on the case. If it gets assigned to a different judge, might have a different attitude, etc. All of that would take time. And in fact, the appeals court says that the judge should do the resentencing within 30 days. Now, he could find reasons to take his time, ask questions, do whatever, and that's one of the grinders in this thing. So, Tina's health is not great at this point. Every day counts. The everything, the cancer, she can't eat a decent meal in there. She's lost a tremendous amount of weight, and she was a light person to begin with. She doesn't have weight to lose. And then the attacks that have occurred on her and things like that, they should have her out on bond. Literally should do it right now. Yeah. And that's what we're asking for. That said, if they don't agree to let her out on bond pending the new sentencing and further appeals that are still there, if they don't agree to put a different judge on it, I think my gut instinct, and I've kind of passed this around a few thoughts with other people, I'm open to anybody else's input suggestions, but I kind of am leaning towards maybe we need to, and I haven't done this thus far and didn't think it was, quite the right time, but I think we need to have a prayer vigil for Tina. Various places around the country. We've done a Tina Peters Day in the broadcast, and of course you helped with that too. But I think we need to do potentially a prayer vigil, and I'm thinking that we do it in at the state house, not the governor's house, not the prison for a lot of reasons, but there in Colorado. And I'm thinking sooner than later. I'm kind of thinking, week and a half or something. And
great. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, once the weather turns, we should start to do something like this. So that's a great idea.
Well, I think part of the thing is that they need to see where the rest of the citizenry is. This is being done on our watch.
Right.
And there's some, really, she's never even had a traffic ticket. She's 70 years old. Is she actually a threat to anybody seriously? And here we have this other Democrat friend of the governor was convicted of the same thing, except she really freaking did it, with the evidence that they had there, which Tina didn't. But she got a $3,000 fine, and she can work that off on a work crew with 100 hours of community service and doesn't even pay the $3,000 fine. And she just gets probation. She doesn't get an ankle monitor. She doesn't get nothing. And really, as far as I'm concerned, what she was convicted of is far worse, or agreed to, is far worse than anything that Tina was ever accused of doing. And the governor's acknowledged that. Governor Polis has said, it's disparity in sentencing, and he's a little bit concerned about it. But then, there's this thing with Colorado. At the very least, they want to get through the election and, make a statement for everybody. It's a political prisoner type thing. And that's just not going to cut it. And so I think we have to make our feelings on this better understood by, and I would come in prayer. I wouldn't come, stomping the feet and threatening or whatever. I would come in prayer. We're there because at some level this is a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
If I was, on the other side, they should be more concerned.
Yep, they should be more concerned on the other side, no doubt about it, especially if we show up in numbers. So if we show up in big numbers, that's going to put a message out there.
Yeah, and around the country that show up that can't travel there.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough that they would want to, be counted as present to, make. And also, Tina, how does it feel in there to know that, even with this judge resentencing, is that resentencing, well, I'm going to give you 8 years instead of 9.5, he could do something wonky. He's already shown how wonky he is, and or a different judge assigned, and we're just going to give her 5 years or something. This is a very wrong thing, and the disparity in sentencing and all that. At the very least, with the disparity in sentencing that's already been shown, she should be out, time served. Period. Done. Over. And that's the way it should be right now. And so every day, her health is very fragile now, and we need to get her out, and with all possible speed.
Definitely.
Anyway, I interrupted you a few minutes ago, and I just wanted to get that out there, so I apologize.
That's good. Yeah, I love it. I think we should do it. So we're going to plan it out and start to speak it, and we'll see what we can do. I think it's very, very easy to do that. And I think, like you're saying, all across the country, people can't make it to Colorado. They can, do it, I don't know, at their own state houses or something. So we see her come out. We're probably going to go, I think, nuclear on 2020. It's not over yet.
It's not over yet. Oh my God. Well, look at the stuff that's coming, even Trump's kids the other day, Don Jr. and Eric, I believe, also were saying that they were anticipating arrests, some really high profile arrests in the next 30 to 60 days. Yeah. I don't know what they might know that we don't. We're close.
Pam Bondi's gone, so there's no blockage. So let's, and if Lee Zeldin gets in there, wow, I think that's going to really rock it.
Yeah, in Trump's defense on that, by the way, gosh, I love that. That is so beautiful.
Beautiful.
I actually have one that's
nice,
a convertible Cheer too. I've got a couple of the Chryslers in that era. And I've actually got the only one ever built 54 Chrysler Imperial Crown.
Nice treasure.
Imperial. It's a very cool one. But, the one thing I would say is this. As this begins to build out, as you get to that first arrest, which I think the first one is John Brennan. based on things that have happened at the grand juries that are hearing some of this testimony right now. For a lot of people, it won't be real till that first one occurs. But man, when it does,
I've been wanting to ask
start opening.
And it'll tie in with some other people. So Osama bin Laden, John Brennan, he was the chief organizer, the guy that basically got the Neptune Spear going. So he's working with Obama. So Osama bin Laden was taken out. And, during that time frame, we have, an admiral that was involved. So that Admiral McRaven, came out and attacked Trump several times. And then Jeff Bezos gave him $50 million. Sounds a little suspect to me. So HEXF is on a spree of firing generals right now. I don't know, maybe McRaven, I hate to say it because he's, SEAL Admiral, but maybe he needs to go visit those guys down in Guantanamo. Maybe there's something there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. What I think, we're going to be shocked at some of the people that will end up at Guantanamo for treason and traitorous acts. It won't just end with Brennan. I had something years ago, and I don't know that I want to explain precisely because it wasn't brought out in the public or proven yet, but there was a location, and I'll just say it was in Texas, where a number of these general staff and flag officers were congregating. And there was a family got a hold of me that through friends where they had one of their children had been working at that location. And, really, the only way to say it is they got out there with their life. They were very stressed about what was going on. And some of the things that had been going on there that they described were just stunning, shocking, and disturbing, and including certain types of aircraft coming and going, bringing high-profile persons there in kind of the Epstein vein. And that hasn't been addressed, but this was predominantly very high-level government officials and military, and the stuff that was going on there. And McRaven was one of the specific people that was identified, coming and going at that location. Was very disturbing information. So I'm of the opinion that that's going to get addressed.
Very good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So think of the Epstein stuff, how we still don't know everything that was going on there. It's far more involved than we know. I'm sorry, say again.
Speaking of Bondi, talking about Epstein.
Yeah, yes. Well, and what I was going to say, you started a second ago, and I started to answer something. Here's the deal with Bondi. You have to remember that as Trump came into office, he needed to get the ball rolling, and you had an adversarial Congress. So to get things moving, you had to get somebody in there that you could at least get somebody in there. And so Congress went ahead and approved her over at the AG's office. And there is stuff that got done. The other side of it is, there's a lot that's happened behind the scenes. While everybody's had their attention on Bondi and, Blanche behind the scenes and, Cash over at FBI and like that, there's a lot that didn't get done. And yet, behind the scenes, we've been knocking things down, for example, going into Venezuela and Iran and some of the operations there. By the way, the Kaisers had this unique feature with the windshield. They would do this little dimple like that, and I had a four-door Kaiser like this for a while. Fun car, very very unusual. So the thing about Bondi, Cash, some of these other people that were in these offices, it's what got us rolling. But I always said privately, I probably said it to you, that I felt that they were placeholders that would be replaced as we got further into the battle, that they weren't permanent in those positions. And now we're in a much different situation where we can begin to trade people out. And it's in preparation for what's coming with these high profile arrests and prosecutions. Bondi clearly in the Bush camp all the way through, and protecting people, kind of a placeholder, not wanting to get to the next level. She, mission accomplished. Trump didn't have to, let her leave with dignity. She's got a different job, didn't have to, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out type thing. Let her, leave in a certain way. And then, but now we're on to the next phase. As we move into this prosecutorial phase, it's going to get epic. And then the one thing that everybody needs to kind of keep in mind also, even if an arrest, the prosecution begins in the criminal justice system, Article 3 courts, doesn't mean it has to stay there. And we're going to get to military tribunals because of the treason and traitorous activities. So you can lie to Congress, you can do stuff like that and get, prosecuted in that vein, get things rolling. And then you still have plenty of room to raise the bar as we get further along and move into the military courts. And that's exactly where this is all going.
So you think she's going to get a show like Dan Bongino and continue on, or?
I don't think that the public is interested. She may get something like that, but you make your bones, and you might be stylish, have a little flair, whatever. I don't think the public is in the mood for that at this point in time. And by the way, this is an 8-cylinder, okay? Had a straight 8 in it. So that's a big deal. It's a Buick and Oldsmobile and Pontiac. They all made a big deal out of whether you had an 8-cylinder or 6-cylinder. Like my Oldsmobile is an inline 8-cylinder. It's so cool. You open that hood. Look at how long that hood is. That hood's a mile long, and so they had to have it because the motor isn't a V. It's a straight 8 in there, and they had lots of torque. Very cool. This one's got the double side mount. So I have a friend that actually has this exact car as a convertible with double side mounts. It's very, very cool. But anyway, I don't think people have a desire to hear much of what Pam might say. She might want to give some insights on things that she knows or found out while she was there and try to apologize, for what she had to do in her opinion. As this whole thing was playing out. But I think it'll fall on deaf ears a bit. I don't think that the public wants to hear that. Do you?
No, and I think she needs to be careful if she gets angry and threatens to reveal something. Who knows? Maybe her husband's been wearing some boobies, balloon boobies.
Yeah. I mean, can you believe that? We're talking about Kristi Noem's husband, a cross-dresser and all this other stuff that comes out now. Oh my gosh,
I know.
And I got to meet her up at an event there in Montana several years ago. She had her cowboy boots on, and we got pictures together and like that. She did, she was doing a great job. Remember, she's the one that didn't let them lock it down during the COVID stuff and all that.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah, but you feel for somebody like that, where how much control do you have over something like that, even with a spouse? I kind of feel for her, because I don't think she, in anything she did, really was doing something wrong. But the problem there again is, who's going to blackmail you because they know something, and then you don't do something at a critical moment because they're blackmailing you. That's the risk with something like that. When you have to get clearances, you gotta, they gotta look at everything, and if there's a problem, sometimes, especially a job like that, you got to pass even if they're the right person, but there's a problem like that in the family or something. It's not what I think we wanted to have done there. So
it really started to come, when she did the Minnesota, had the Minnesota ICE shootings. That's when they really came after her. So that's probably the other side that's really destroyed her. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're relentless. They've got their sources too. They got top level people, and but let me tell you, here's a little thing. Cuts both ways. I can tell you right now, if I was anywhere in the operations of some of these organizations, just pulling one out of the hat, act blue, I'd be really getting serious about lawyering up. Things are, you cannot get away forever with some of this stuff, and shit's getting ready to, roll downhill, and they may not be as protected as they were during the prior administration, or even while we were kind of getting our sea legs in this administration. Things are about to take a different life. And I would think that, rather than being more demonstrative or doing more bullshit, I'd be really serious about having an honest conversation with a real attorney, and not just a put up attorney that gets paid a bunch of money but doesn't actually do anything to protect you. Because these people are going to need real attorneys, is my opinion. So
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Now, Trump's April 1st speech last night, and he was basically saying that we're going to knock Iran back into the Stone Age. What are your thoughts on his speech? Any coding in that speech at all?
Well, here's what happened yesterday after the speech. In the, and it's very disturbing, actually. There's a person who was negotiating with us back channel through Pakistan to try and work a deal. After the speech, this person's home in Iran got bombed. Israeli aircraft bombed it, killed his wife. He survives in the hospital. He's now not available to continue the negotiations. Now, we've had a number of times over the last many years, we had people trying to negotiate a position that was less aggressive in a lot of these talks, nuclear and things like that. And each time something would happen to the people that were doing the negotiations. This is part of a repeating pattern. And so it's very disconcerting, and I don't know how that's going to affect what negotiations are there. And then once that knowledge was kind of out there, oil prices shot up again.
Yep.
And so, the threat, and now you have to think about it slightly differently. Set aside the Israeli component to who did the bombing. From a globalista standpoint, the way that they want to sidetrack and derail what Trump is doing there is if energy prices go up radically, it causes problems in the U.S. economy. If you remember back in 2008, when the crisis, before it actually hit in the banking crisis, the housing crisis, et cetera, in 2008,
Yep.
energy prices went up radically. And that's what triggered the slowdown in business, travel, airlines. Then it started to hit the housing market. Next thing you know, Bush is on the TV telling the world that we were within 24 hours of a catastrophic meltdown worldwide within the financial system, that if they hadn't stepped in and injected, unfathomable amounts of money that we don't even today know the full number, that the world financial system would have collapsed and we'd have gone back to the Stone Age, essentially, because you couldn't put it back together again. Unlike, if you have a jacket and a seam comes out, well, you just go to a seamstress, they sew the seam back up. You don't even know that anything ever happened. But when it comes unraveled in lots of places like that, you don't just fix that with a seamstress. It's damage. You can put a big patch over the elbows or something like that, but you're pretty much toast. This kind of coming off the rails within the world's financial markets would have been something where we would not have put it back together again. So, and they said within 24 hours. The situation with oil at these higher prices like this is very, very, very disturbing. And in stopping the negotiations by killing this guy, the likelihood you're going to get to some kind of an agreement goes down radically. Who's the guy who's going to replace him? And by the way, if the guy that was so, that's the threat for him. That it won't be minor. And the other thing is this: you think Trump is kidding? You think Trump is going to just shine it on if this war doesn't get done. He has a lot in play in this, because what he's doing is eliminating locations around the globe where the deep state, who this is really a fight with, where they would try to take the attention of the American people with drama in North and South Korea, drama in Asia, the Asian financial markets, drama in South America, and Hezbollah and ISIS, and the IRGC doing stuff in South America, the Cubans doing something, something in the Mideast, something in Africa, and the world's attention is drawn away from arrests, is drawn away from revelations about the vote fraud and things like that, even people going to Gitmo, that's serious. So he's eliminating the opportunity to play ping pong with our attention and take it away from domestic crisis, which is, the fraud at elections and people in office who are not there legitimately. And then the fraudulent attacks into the economy, like you heard with the Bondgate stuff and like that there at the conference last week. So Trump is eliminating all that so that the news and the people involved there can't pull us off point as we move into this next phase, very domestic, going after the 2020 election fraud and frauds in 2022 and 2024 in the election cycle also. So once those things are under control, and Iran is one of the critical ones, then we proceed. Now, does it delay things? I think this did. I think even though he was talking being done with the things in 2-3 weeks, and we got new AG coming somewhere in here, we have a temporary one now. I personally don't think we act, you might get an arrest here or there to throw some red meat on the plate, but I don't personally think we get to the stuff we're really concerned about until right after July 4th of this year and the 250th anniversary. He's called the country to prayer, to come to the National Mall May 17th, and which is a Sunday, by the way. Have the country in the spirit on the Lord's day. That's a quote from Revelations. John was in the spirit on the Lord's day when he had the entire revelation. The revelator, John the Revelator. And we have then 49 days, including the 4th of July. So we have the 17th through the 4th of July, 49 days. And it's not about just having like a big national prayer day or something like that. It's a season of prayer to rededicate America to God's purposes. President Trump has said from the day he was of the inauguration and in his speech there that he believed he was saved through Butler and other things for a purpose, and therefore he wants to fulfill that, and he was saved by God himself. Okay, so he wants us all to rededicate ourselves as a people, a nation, and show up and be part of that. Like couples sometimes re-say their vows, rededicate themselves to the marriage. And then the additional thing that is not widely understood, okay, that's 49 days. By the way, President Trump had his number that things are kind of around him seem to revolve around is 7. So Trump was 70 years old, 7 months and 7 days on planet Earth on his first full day in office back in 2017. Not on Inauguration Day. That was only a half day, and he didn't get much work done. He didn't start, till 7 o'clock in the morning the next day. So 7, 7, 7, 7. And this is, interesting within this, 49 days from May 17th. Why did he pick that day? Well, it's 49 days till the 4th of July. And from a, biblical perspective, 6 days God labored to create the world, and on the seventh day he rested. And seven's considered a number of completion, perfect day, things like that. And then the new day starts on the next day, which is Monday, the eighth day or whatever, if you want to do it. Eight's the number of new beginnings. And so, and we don't run our lives by the numbers, but there's, the numbers do have meaning even in the scriptural standpoint. 40 days and 40 nights, 40 days Christ fasted out in the wilderness. 40 is a repeating number that, has symbolic meaning through the scriptures, and 7 does too. So, uh, 7 weeks brings you up to 4th of July full days, that 49th day. But the interesting thing then is the other number that's right after that is 50. Well, in the biblical context, you would take 6 years, you would plant crops, you do all the stuff. The 7th year, you let the land rest. You didn't plant crops. So you had to save up food and supplies and like that to get you through that next year. And then you'd start out again. You do another week of years, 6 years of planting and sowing and reaping and all that stuff. In the 7th year, you rested, just like in your work week. But in the 7th year of weeks, that was called a Jubilee year. And so you would take the 49th year off, let the crops rest, and then you duplicate that in a 50th year. So when you stored up supplies and got ready for 2 years of rest, that included putting up grain, food, other things, so you could survive 2 years without planting a crop. And then you still had to have seed that was good, so you had to store it up to plant the crop when you came back to that new Jubilee year, beginning of everything over again. And the other thing is, if you sold property that was in the family, then in the 50th year, all of that land was returned to the original property owner family. So that if, like, you were in a family or a kid growing up, your dad sold the property, and you were a pauper all your life, he spent the money poorly, whatever, somewhere during your lifetime, you had the likelihood that you would live long enough to see a Jubilee year, and then your family would get back that property. futilely, endlessly, whatever. But for this generation, what you just had, and by the way, those people that want to say that nobody's going anywhere, nothing's happening, it's another ruse. We didn't have deep space radar capability back, and especially other countries, back at the time of the Apollo missions. And amazingly enough, when deep space radar capability came online, we actually had Apollo 18 and 19 that were on deck with even heavier lift capabilities. In fact, the engine that was built for Apollo 19 is sitting up in Dale Smith's museum up in Oregon. The former owner of Evergreen Aviation, a friend. Very sad story there from back during the Obama administration, things that happened to take him out. It was very, very disturbing. Great guy. Wow. But that mission that engine that was built for the Saturn V rockets prototype is sitting up there in the museum. It's really cool. But when you think about it, all of the hopes and dreams that I remember, I watched a couple of the Redstones as a little kid. I watched all the Gemini launches, everything, up through all the Apollo stuff. Watched it very closely. I was just, totally fascinated. Watched the broadcasters and all the models and explanations. And then we stopped and we didn't go the extra missions. And there's a very good argument to be made because a lot of that, maybe all of it, was theater. And the problem is with deep space radar capability, the Russians could have determined that we weren't actually doing what we said we were doing. And so suddenly the program stopped and we didn't have money for those last couple of missions. And today we have that capability. A lot of countries around the world, a lot of relatively modest operations have that capability. And so you can literally, everybody can see that what's going up there and where it's going is actually happening. It's not just theater. You might say, oh, the crew's not on there, it's a green screen, whatever. Yeah, not. That's not what's going on here this time around.
I agree. So Trump started this program, and he wanted to put men back on the moon in his first administration. So here we are. It's amazing. It's going to take our technology to the level and make America even greater than we already are. So I love it.
Well, and part of it, I think you have to dial it in this way, Micheal. We had several generations, more than just your and mine, where that future that was promised to us, that we were dreaming about, going to Mars, going out and mining asteroids and things like that, was stolen from us. And the advancements didn't find their way into the rest of society and life. And the technology, we have a lot of technology, but in the osmotic curve, when you look at it, no, we've been very, very flat in our development in reality. So we have a stolen future. What Trump is doing, he puts the tariffs up. He stops that the slave labor can make things so cheap you can barely survive, and then send them into America to displace our workforce. And they can't compete except to live and operate at slave labor rates. So he puts a tariff out there. Now, companies that want to be in business, they have a baseline. If they want to send slave labor stuff over, fine, we're going to put a tax on it that's high enough that when businesses go to buy stuff here in America, the tariff's high enough that they'd rather just buy American. It turns on American business. It gets people back working again, brings the technology home, builds out the industrial base in America. as opposed to elsewhere, and then provides jobs that are decent, well-paying jobs as we build out the American workforce. And then what you've seen here with the space shot, going back to the moon, we're not just going back to the moon. We're going to land on the moon next year is the plan. Everything goes smooth on this flight. And then build a presence on the moon, a permanent base on the moon.
Ooh, yeah.
So that we're no longer just coming back and forth. Instead of building the space station out, we're building a moon base. And, for example, I had somebody that just graduated from a mining course, a 4-year mining course here in the U.S. Mining is a very advanced, complex thing to do it right. There's a lot goes into, mining for different things that you need, the strategic metals and things like that, latest technology for the best mining practices, things like that. And I mentioned to this person that was graduating just a couple weeks ago, I said, you ought to actually think about adding some study about mining on the moon or mining on asteroids. In your lifetime, that's going to happen. When we get back to the moon, what are they going to do? They're going to be looking at it to dig holes in it and mine stuff there. And even if you're building out a moon base to use materials that you fly from Earth to the moon, no, you're going to go up there and use the materials that are available there, which is mostly glass, sand on the surface and stuff down deeper. Imagine getting ready to go be not just an astronaut, but an astronaut miner.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that they won't stay up on the surface necessarily. They'll go down, a few meters, few dozen meters, whatever, and they'll build out their facilities down lower out of the cosmic rays, out of, some of the other areas. So they'll be building under the surface of the moon, not right on top. And by the way, Howard Hughes believed, just so you know, that the moon was actually a giant spaceship, and was pretty verbal about that at different times, and believed stuff was built out under the surface of the moon. Now, here's a little thing that a lot of people don't realize. Hughes Space Systems was sending up lunar landers and photography systems to document the surface of the moon in the period before our astronauts, supposedly went there with Apollo, and those were sending back all sorts of data. So he may have known more than he was putting out there, by the way.
I never knew that. It's pretty interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So, in fact, just so you know, for everybody in the audience, there was a movie made. Remember, Hughes had RKO, the movie studio. They blacklisted him. He had to testify before Congress. It was, the commie thing and all that. It really pissed him off. And so he began his own intelligence operations in Hollywood. He had all the starlets and all that. And they were, the houses that they lived in were covered in mics and a little bit of cameras and like that. And they all had their boyfriends, the Hollywood people, and a lot of communists were there in Hollywood. That was some of the rest of Hughes's history it's a bit opaque. It was not completely understood. But interesting thing happened. He had stopped with his RKO stuff, just suspended all of his stuff and got out of the movie business, allegedly. But there was a movie script that had been around for a little bit, and it had to do with Forbidden Planet, the movie. And what's interesting about Forbidden Planet is that studios were highly competitive in this period. And, they didn't lend their stars around. Their stars were under contract to that studio, and they made movies around particular stars within certain studios. But when Forbidden Planet, that script came around, you had 3 different studios agreed to lend their most important stars to that movie. and to be part of it because the subject matter was so important. And then the imagery that was included in the movie, the tetrahedrons and all sorts of other stuff. By the way, in 2001: A Space Odyssey, the obelisk, this door that you see floating off in space, and it's there on the Earth with the monkeys and up on the moon with the astronauts and all that, and then out at Jupiter. That wasn't supposed to be like a door. It was supposed to be a tetrahedron. In the book, it's a tetrahedron. It's a three-sided pyramid type structure, the simplest thing, a shape that can exist in three dimensions. It's the first platonic solid. And so Plato had the five solids like that. So that movie was really important because you have to think in terms of you're building out the psyche, the way that people think, and especially, think of the kids showing up at the movie. The movie came out in 1956, so you're showing up in Dad's '56 Ford convertible to watch the movie. Your '54 Chrysler Imperial convertible to watch the movie at the drive-in, and it's putting all this imagery out there. The hot babe in space, tigers, and all sorts. It's a great movie. It's like one of my very, very, very favorite. It is absolutely the top 10, one of the top 10.
Yeah.
And Robbie the Robot. You remember as a kid seeing Robbie the Robot? Oh my gosh. Get your imaginations going. Not about the girl, the robot technology. Anyway, so those studios agreed to work together to make that movie, lend their stars to make the movie. And because the imagery and the imprint on the psyche of that generation was so critical. And then the reality is it isn't a planet far, far away. It's right next door. It's the moon. So that ain't no, planet. That's a spaceship. And that quote actually, I believe, comes from Howard Hughes. That's the first time I heard it, long before he ever had any of the other movies.
Very interesting. Now, I know you've talked about the near-death experience for the United States. Is there something that could, now that we're seeing all this, alien stuff that's coming out now, everybody's talking about it. You think they're going to do the Project Bluebeam on us to try and, stop our progression?
No. And here's why. It's not time yet. Within that crowd that wants to do that, this globalista crowd, they know that it's premature. And in fact, what they have, in their internal conversations, people that have discussed this other places, kind of know the inner workings, what they want to do. They, and you even see it in the movies. Remember, the movies are intended to program you, to prepare you mentally to accept a certain narrative. And you think you're hearing it the first time, it's new, and yet it's kind of already been there within the movie thing. Even if you didn't see the movie, it's in the rest of the conversations. So, for example, Thor in The Day the Earth Stood Still. What's the premise of the movie? That, and they, of course, did the remake too, by the way, from the 50s movie to the one in the 80s. What's the premise? The premise is that because we're about to destroy ourselves with nuclear weapons, and we're a threat to the rest of the, planetary whatevers, that we have to be taken out. We have to be destroyed because we're going to destroy the neighborhood. Okay. And we're destructive people. And, if we're not put in check, then we'd continue to develop and go out and threaten the rest of the global neighborhood. And so there's this attitude that they have to stop us. And there are heavenly cousins. Okay, they're not us, but they're kind of related genetically. They're humanoid, but not human, directly descendants of Adam, if you will. And so they need that premise, they need that precipitating thing, which is we fire off a few nukes at each other. And now we're, a threat to extinguish civilization and other things, in which case they have to just stop us. We haven't quite reached that point yet. I think they need that nuclear exchange of some type to be able to then, have the basis for amping this up. And, that's, and they've telegraphed that through a lot of the stuff that they've done. So I think that's where they want to go. And in the in these secret handshake groups, for example, Albert Pike, who wrote Morals and Dogma, and says that it would take 3 world wars to implement their new world order. So the first 2 wars have happened. I would contend that the Third World War already happened and we won. Russia's gone. So then you're back to this is the 4th one coming up. But in their math, they still need a Third World War. So let's go with their numbers. The Third World War, according to Albert Pike, is a fight between the 3 brothers within the Abrahamic religion. So Abraham of the Bible, family of Adam. He has, his 12 sons, and those are the 12 tribes of Israel. They go into slavery in Egypt, come out, go into the Promised Land, build out their own nation, blah, blah, blah. And they're break bread recently, and what's coming here in just a few weeks with the event in Vegas. We thank you for keeping us healthy, giving us clear minds, angelic protection, that we're still here, getting to pinch ourselves as we see things changing and coming about that we thought maybe we'd missed it, wasn't going to happen in our lifetime. And we thank you for President Trump, the people around him, the generals behind him, fighting to restore a way of life here in the country that it looked like we might lose. We know there's hard days still ahead, and even the possibility, likelihood of some kind of a near-death experience for us as a people and individuals, something out there. The enemy has lots of bends and twists that they'd like to throw at us. But we ask for favor, Father God, that you would incline your ear to us and deal with us gently and mercifully through these things with your protective hand. We seek to rededicate ourselves to not just a constitutional perspective, but to a pilgrim perspective, covenanting with you to do things that please you, Father God, that build out a heavenly message, to bring beauty back to the earth, and to build it out, and peace and kindness, all the wonderful things that you intended when you created this world and created us and placed us in it. We pray for those that are struggling right now, Tina Peters and others in the prison system who are there wrongfully, through no fault of their own, doing the right thing. And even people that may have been there appropriately, justly, we ask that you make your presence known across the country, shore to shore, and to other places where this message may be heard, that you would be speaking to hearts and minds and be there comforting them and bringing them to you and giving them a hope in their heart and soul for a better day ahead, a better time ahead, and health with it, clarity of mind with it. We pray for the youth represented in this audience, that they would be given a dream, a vision, an uplift in their spirit to see a future for themselves that's beautiful and bright, and that would be translated into the hearts and minds of the people in this audience from their children and grandchildren, that you would unite us as a nation, unite us as a people to do good according to your will, and then not just for our own pleasure and enjoyment, but as ambassadors to the world, to do that which helps the world to likewise enjoy and flourish and find health and a beautiful future according to your will, Father God. We know you created us in love, and you intend beautiful things for us, good and not evil. We pray you make us the head and not the tail. Allow us to work appropriately within our communities, by whatever name they go by, and with a clear mind. And that there would be salvation by the blood of Christ for every person in this audience. They would understand why you came, Christ, to wipe out sin across the world by your blood, taking it on yourself and cleansing us all, that you have a plan for every last one of us. We pray for your mercy, your grace, your protection, your provision, your life, your light in our heart and soul, and protection from those that would steal it from us. Pray all that in Jesus' name, by the blood of Christ, make it so. Thank you, Father.
Amen. Wow. That was amazing. That brought tears to my eyes. Thanks, Juan.
Hey, I really love you guys. I'm very thankful, really seriously, to have a great host like you, a great audience like you. I always say it, but I actually really, really mean it. So you guys are the best. And for Tracy, very thankful for all your extra efforts to keep Michael and me on the path. You know, if I didn't have Jen doing the same thing over at my side, you know, who knows what kind of trouble I'd get into day to day, unsupervised. So,
all right,
anyway, all right. Appreciate all you folks. Go have a great rest of the evening, and talk soon again, Michael. And better get your tickets to the thing tomorrow when it comes online. I'll send you something to send out to your audience tomorrow as soon as it goes online, Michael.
Yeah, we'll put it out right away. We'll fill it up. It's gonna be fast. You guys better sign right up.
Yeah,
all right.
It'll go pretty quick, I think. Yeah. All right. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Are you a good girl?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because Mom says I'm so expensive.
Who kisses you the most, Mom or Dad?
My grandma?
Your mom and dad don't kiss you?
No, they're busy kissing each other.
Who loves you the most?
My grandma.
Your mom and dad don't love you?
They love each other more.
Lost a video. Michael, I'm sure you're working on. There he is. He's back. Didn't want to move forward without you, sir. Thanks for being here. Couple of bumps in my monologue, but hopefully the message got through. Here we are, gentlemen. I salute you right out of the gate. Thank you for being here. And off the heels of that monologue, hopefully you listened to it because I'm going to ask some questions about it. Off the heels of that monologue, describe for us, we'll begin, of course, with retired Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo Bossi of Australia. Off the heels of that monologue, describe for us where you see us at. It's kind of a big question. Take your time, if you will. Paint the picture for our viewers. Where are we presently at in this war? And highlight any key fronts you choose, and also what you anticipate to occur before the end of this year. So where are we at? In other words, where have we come? Where are we today? And where do you see as some focal point highlights transpiring over the rest of this year? Ricardo Bossi, sir.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us. Gentlemen, good afternoon. Absolute pleasure to be with you all. Okay, very quickly. What a lot of people are having difficulty with is following the cascading activities around the planet at the tactical level, operational level, campaign level, and strategic level, and even the grand strategy. And people are having difficulty putting the picture together. That's by design. We know that. That's, of course, the reason. But where we're at right now, and if you could put a title, I guess, on this phase of the operation, this is for the people. And the title would be this: The Price of Failure to Act. The Price of Failure to Act. And the reason I say that is because the people, it's already started now. The alleged reason is the Straits of Hormuz and the blockage, and then the interference with the flow of oil. Therefore, the prices have spiked, and we'll talk in detail later. But that is the supposed trigger to all the drama that's going on right now, but that's not it at all. This is the price of the failure to act. All the things that are going on around the planet, and they can be related to Hormuz, they could be related, completely unrelated to Hormuz, but this is what the people now have to experience for not holding their people to their representatives to account, for not keeping an eye on what was going on, for trusting too many people for too long without sticking their nose into somebody else's business and saying, hang on a minute, you didn't promise me this, you didn't promise me that, and why are you delivering it to it? So this is the moment in history where the Australian people, because I can tell you that from personal experience, it's hurting down here, but it's also hurting around the world. And the people are going to start to feel the squeeze. It's going to be painful. It's going to be excruciating. They're going to get very, very angry. And I'm not hoping for this, but I can imagine there's going to be some violence occur, sporadic, not necessarily organized, but sporadic, geographically dispersed. But people are eventually going to realize what's happened to them, what's been done to them. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we've been saying this for so many years now. If we don't stand up, it'll be taken from us. We didn't stand up. It has been taken from us. Everything's been taken from us. And the people are about to find that out. Now, this is the key moment for this operation as far as the people are concerned. None of this would have happened had the people stood up, but they didn't. And there's a lot of many reasons for that. They've been demoralized. They've been brainwashed. They've been MK Ultra. They've been poisoned. They've been gassed. You name it, everything. They've been dumbed down. They've been irradiated with 5G. They've been injected with the COVID nonsense. And there's a million reasons why it occurred. But at every point, the people failed to stand up and claim this sovereignty they claim they have, to say, this is my country. I am the source of law. What I say goes. But as we know, if you throw something out in the trash, anybody can come and collect that trash and take it away. That's evidence that you're not interested. And the sad reality is most of the planet, and some are more culpable than others because they don't have a history of personal sovereignty or the rights coming from the people. But those nations that do, we should have stood up and we didn't. And now we're going to feel the pain. There's nothing that can stop what's coming. We've been saying that a long time. We've been warning about for a long time, many years now. Get some gas in your garage, get some tin food, get some cash, buy your precious metals, and get ready to hunker down. For how long? We don't know. All we know is that if it goes for too long, the black hats win, so the white hats won't let it go too long. But the pain you're about to feel, and don't shoot me, I'm just a piano player. The pain we're all about to feel is a result of our complacency, our docility, our imbecility, all of those things. It's on us. We're going to have to pay the price.
Tough love and honest words from Ricardo Bossi. Thank you, sir. Two quick comments. We'll take that same question around the panel. One is, you use the term NDE, a near-death experience. That hasn't even arrived, but you're getting a drip of it. Those that are having difficult time getting gasoline, for example, and prices going up, and some of the things you've indicated. And my last follow-up is saving America and redirecting humanity on this course correction is not a spectator sport. So thank you, sir. Same question to retired Colonel Tom Lennox. If you'd like to weigh in on where we're presently at and what you see on the forefront the rest of this year.
I see that there's a wide divergence in reaction of people. We're still probably at 20% really know what's going on. 80%, some know something, some know very little, some know nothing. And I'm going to say it is 20% know nothing. And that's my guess. But what's going to happen at some point before July 4th, I believe we'll have an EBS. And the EBS will be a near-death experience for a lot of people. A lot of people. And it's just there. We know a lot, but I would venture to guess we only know 75% of what's really going on, maybe 70%. And so when we look at it, we have to understand that for us, there'll be shocks. And for the people that are not aware, there'll be big shocks. And I think things like Iran and Israel and all that's in the media, they get upset about it, but Oh, that's far away. That's no problem. We don't need to worry about that. It's when they learn about the babies and they learn about the selling of the children and they learn about the dumbs under the ground and they learn about the Hillary Clintons having 149 people she had killed that we know about. And they find out that their favorite people were absolute 100% criminals. 60 senators took money from Venezuela. That's huge. And all the money that was ripped off, I'm going to say, along the way. You send $1 billion to the Ukraine, and 800 million of it goes back to some congressmen and senators, and all of that. When they learn all of that, they will have, in my estimation, some level of collapse. And then their money goes away for a short period of time, but it's going to go away. The bank account's zero. All of those things are going to happen, and they're not too far away. I think they'll happen sometime before May 17th. And the reason I say May 17th is that's when Trump is going to do the prayer that simulates the one that George Washington did on May 17th of 1776. And that's my summary, I guess.
Well, thank you. There's a common theme here, folks. I'll think of 3 Ps: pray, plan, and prepare is on the docket. Thank you, sir. Same question to Micheal, jaco, sir.
Yeah, I think we're going to see probably boots on the ground here pretty soon in Iran. We just sent 82nd Airborne. Looks like they're going over there as well. So we have 2 different MU groups going there, Marine Expeditionary Units that are headed there. Probably one's already there now. The other one will be there in 2-3 weeks. Now, a lot of people think that, in the past, we get bogged down. We don't get bogged down, speaking from all of us here. We don't get bogged down. It's the administration, the deep state that bogs us down. We don't have that now. So this is the difference that's going to happen with this war or this conflict. We're going to move very quickly into taking down this enemy in Iran. So that's coming. We're going to see probably within a year, because every time we've had a spike in oil, within a year we have a collapse in the stock market. Silver prices accelerate to a very high level, and gold follows after that. So we'll see that happen. There's a lot of great things that are coming. I think we're going to start to see the rest that we've been waiting for. We're going to see, the 2020 election still, the problems with our election system. And this is going to translate all across the world, where we're going to see, multiple countries throughout the world get exposure for their election fraud as well. People that have been in office for a very long time, throughout several decades, we're going to find out that they need to stand justice as well. So not just the ones that are there now, but for several, maybe even decades going back, we're going to find that some people are going to get arrested. Of course, the same thing with the medical fraud that happened with us with the COVID. That's going to come down on people. That's already starting to happen here in the United States on a massive level. Several states are voting to make mRNA shots illegal and a terrorist act. If any group or any company or any individual tries to administer an mRNA shot, so that's going to translate into all the companies, all of the individuals that push that on a very great level have to stand justice. So, Guantanamo is going to be filled. We're probably going to see other places that are going to be filled, because it's an extreme number of people that have, perpetrated fraud on the American people and the people of the world. So great things are coming, but we're probably going to have some problems. The State Department just just put out that around the world, the government of Iran has sent sleeper cells around the world, and they're possibly and probably going to start to strike American citizens, not only here in our country, but around the world. Like Colonel Bosey was saying, Lieutenant Colonel Bosey was saying, there's going to be pain. There's going to be some pain in the future. We have brought this on ourselves. We allow these people to come in and get control. We haven't managed it like we should. We, the people, it's our countries, it's our governments, and we allowed very, very evil psychopaths to come in and take over. So we're going to have to clean that up, and it's going to be painful because they're going to resist, and they're going to send their minions out to fight us. And so we're going to stand up to them, not just around the world, but also in our countries. So our countries will see probably violent action as well. All of us have been talking about this coming in the near future. I think it's right on the doorstep. I have friends throughout the military still that tell me that bases are being locked down. There's very heavy threats on our military installations in the United States. We've seen a little bit of that leak out into the press, but those bases have locked down quite severely. So a lot of pain coming, but on the other side of this, probably jubilee, debt forgiveness, a lot of money that's been, through bonds and so forth. All of us have bonds throughout the world on us. Everything we do, we're bonded. It's totally illegal. The money from a lot of that is going to come back to us. So a lot of people that are living in poverty and despair and so forth will probably get some help going forward. You have to live through the coming wave of violence and problems. So also all of us have been saying, make sure you're stocked up with provisions to get you through the tough times. But on the other side of this is a golden age that's beyond belief.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I think it was a Clint Eastwood movie. Derek would know better. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is what comes to mind here. That's what's in store for the rest of this year. Thank you, Michael, and important information about retaliation. These are the final battles. Incredible operation that's taking place. Same question to Rob Cunningham, sir. Welcome to the panels.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It's quite an honor. The theme that I've focused on radically escalating here in the last few months is, the verse that the power of death and life is in the tongue. God spoke this world into existence, and we've been hypnotized into existence with lies, with not knowing who we are, whose we are. We don't have hard values that we believe in. So if we can be told anything and we don't know how to defend it because it's not politically correct to let your yeses be yes and your noes be noes, they lie to us, they indoctrinate us, they MK Ultra us, they politically correct, threaten to separate us with name calling or just basically divide and conquer. It's an age-old battle, and we are all, as civilians and military, on a battlefield that most have slowly over time been inadequately prepared to even understand when we're being lied to. If you don't know what your rights are, you don't have any. And slowly over time, the bread and circuses, the fun, the money, the football, all of the stuff that we've done, the school, the college, the debt, the money system, the food-like substances that don't have a damn ounce of nutrients in them, they've slowly made us stupid. Now, unfortunately, we had to consent. We are guilty. We are parties of this, if you will, slumber party. And to think about it, if there are principalities of darkness that would like to kick our ass, it's probably a lot easier to put us to sleep first and then have their way with us, because they're now starting to see what it looks like when the world begins to awaken. And I look at what's happened in just the last few months, And you look at what President Trump has done and his team have done in Venezuela, in Mexico, in Cuba, in Iran twice, what they're doing in the Hormuz Strait, what they're doing with Israel, what they're doing in Ukraine, what they're doing. They found, I think, 32 out of 44 of the private banks in Iraq had been infiltrated and controlled by Iran. We've exposed that our special relationship British partners are not special relationship partners or friends or allies. The very first thing we did when we went to Iran was they ordered Lloyd's of London to jack up the cancel insurance premiums in the hopes that oil prices would spike all over the world and it would create political instability and chaos so they could maintain their control monopoly. So we've seen Russia decide they're going to leave BRICS and embrace the new US Treasury dollar system. So if Russia leaves the BRICS, that whole system goes away. China is now begging for oil because their oil providers in the Hormuz Strait, in Venezuela, in Mexico, and Iran can no longer provide them the oil they need. So what we're seeing is this octopus with, and I call the City of London, the money changers that have been doing central banking since 1694, and their tentacles, they finance central banks. They finance this big boogie proxy man known as Iran. For 40 years, the world has been told they're 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. We should all live in fear. They've had missiles pointed at 11 Middle Eastern countries, and we're all just supposed to endlessly fund Middle East wars and write checks to Israel and watch those Strait of Hormuz be this tiny little choke point node for so much of the world's energy, and we've been held hostage through this centralized financing source. I mean, here we are owing $39 trillion to a 1 square mile area on the Thames River, known as the City of London, that doesn't produce anything, hire anything, manufacture anything, invent anything, grow anything, and distribute anything. All this little 1 square mile territory does is manipulate capital markets and foreign exchange rates, create financial fiction the world over through their fractional reserve banking system, buy off governments, buy off politicians, buy off industries, buy off religions, put us to sleep. But the good news is they now see exactly what Commander-in-Chief President Trump is doing. He's cutting off every one of the octopus's arms. He sees how he's opening up the oil and energy and money arteries or capillaries so money and value and freedom can flow in a distributed, decentralized manner instead of being controlled by a bunch of freaks in the City of London and their franchises in the Federal Reserve and wherever else they have their little monopolistic money system. Well, that goes back to you can't serve two masters. We've been unfortunately unaware of the master that we've been serving. And thank God President Trump is cutting those arteries, ending their fake fiat monetary system, and systematically going about the process of waking 7 or 8 billion people up so that we can start reintroducing ourselves to who we are and whose we are instead of just being mindless slaves. So I'm just honored that I'm on a panel with a bunch of men like you that can help to wake up the rest of the population as powerfully as we possibly can, because we have to wake up or we don't win.
Great analysis. Thank you, sir. Going back to what you first opened up with and addressing it to our audience, you are on a battlefield. Doesn't matter if you're serving in the armed forces. Every one of us are physically on the battlefield, and we are the target. So thank you for reminding us of that, and great analysis. Derek Johnson, you've been patiently waiting. How would you like to respond to this?
Well, first and foremost, it is an honor to be here, as always, and an honor to be with Rob. I think he probably is a friend of my manager's. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not, but I'm pretty sure that's the same Rob. So it's good to be here with all of you. And I know Jaco's over there probably laughing because, I'm having to wait now to be the full last to talk so we can have some fun with this. So, I'm going to rattle off now. But there's two things that, to remind people out there in the audience world, whether you're a patriot, Republican, conservative, independent, whatever you are, if you just woke up, you've been away, whatever you think you are, there's two things that they're still playing to you. The things you got to see for the target audience that has no idea that Lieutenant Colonel Lennox was talking about, whether they know a little bit of something or nothing at all, whatever that is, they got to see this play out. To the patriots, you have to see it in another manner, but also understand that I use 3 P's in all of my podcasts: principles, priorities, and prevention. It's easy to look back on the past and judge the past, always. But if you don't sharpen your skills and elevate your skills and your thinking, we cannot prevent the swamp from growing back. You have to, that's where everybody's responsibility comes in. And that's what other people talking about the local action and things. You got to know the laws and the orders, though, because if you don't know your rights, if you don't know the laws, then they're going to be abused always. So if you know the law more than the lawyer does, it don't mean you got to practice the law, just to read and know and study the law. But if you read and study and know the law, then the one that is doing the practice for you, if they get out of line, you can say, look, I don't want your job, but I actually know that what you're doing is fraudulent, or you're cutting corners here, whatever it may be. So that's where your role comes in. And then also keep in mind, everything that President Trump has set up is to the T. Every T dotted, every T crossed, every I dotted, everything to the T of a military government. All right, by law. Now, this goes to the Law of War Manual, where it talks about the undesirability. Every single one of these men on this panel that you see right here, they've done their service. Now, I know every one of them will suit up again if we absolutely had to get into an actual suit again and go out there. We would, they would, but every one of these men are taking time out of their life, all right, to deliver to you their experience, a lot more than my experience inside the military, active duty, all right? But every bit of this is a military government. And in the Law of War Manual, where it talks about undesirability, it means that we came to a crossroads, as Elon said not terribly long ago. We came to a crossroads in civilization where we had to go, okay, do we keep going down this route? Because a lot of people have no idea how close we were to capsizing in a complete world level eruption of everything because of these elites. They're so dumb. It's like President Trump calls 2 things. He says some of them are stupid and just low IQ, but some of them are stupid and evil. So you can still be intelligent, brilliant, and smart, but still be evil. So there's 2 different people that we've been also fighting on that external factor and internal factor out there that do the evil. So there's 2 different entities. So what I find is right now, people are still not listening to the commander. All right. You're not listening to him. You might be hearing, but you're not listening. And you got to pay attention to detail. And there's one thing that any of these leaders right here were in the military that told all of us lower enlisted and lower officers out there is you pay attention to detail. Pay attention to detail. Every little detail matters. All right. And that's where you learn who is and who isn't, especially even in the military. Who knows the laws? Who knows the orders? Who knows the regulations? Who knows the directives? Who knows the instructions? Who knows the manuals? Who's been reading the manuals? Who's been reading the publications? So you're finding out who is and who isn't. So right now, every one of you are finding out what influencers out there who are and who isn't, who are in their intent and motives or some other thing. And you're also finding out who actually knows what the heck is going on. So the undesirability means that none of us wanted to be here either, but we know what's going on. We also know what it takes to win this thing. We are winning this thing. It's already been done, but the reason why we have to say some things that it's not done is your job and role and responsibility and duties are not to sit on your thumb and not prepare for the future. You need to be in the mindset of what Native Americans do, is what my people do, is you live your life right now for 7 generations out. And if the next generation does that, then guess what? Will be off the chain. Now, the other thing, this is not a war by standards with Iran. The war is the military government and the undesirability to have to do it. That is the war. That is the shell that President Trump and the military, the generals, the admirals have set up. It's a military government. By law, it's a military government. You can read everywhere. Also, what President Trump has done, there's no way he walked in all these nations and got done what he's done. All these capitulations took place from 2017 to 2019. Every bit of these nations working with us, with Iran, took place back here 2017 to 2019. Some new nations that came on board and became a part of the Abraham Accords. Every bit of these are in the National Defense Authorization Acts from 22 to 24. How did they already know to put in the NDAAs what was going to happen the next year? Every one of the year before, so the year before NDAAs, the year of what they were going to be operating the next year, it's already written over here what's happening over here, which means it's strategic. Congress knows about it because they're in a continuity government. The law shows that Congress is still, to this day, in a partial continuity government. And President Trump has validated this. He's validated it over and over. Today in yesterday, it's already a new day, but in Memphis, Tennessee, he validated. He said what they're calling a war, it's a military operation. So he validated this whole operation with law war manual terms. He uses occupied territory, white flag of surrender, restoration. All of those are in the law war manual under military occupation. The term restoration is directly related to a military government. And then also in the military government, you've seen things like your validities, the 1798 Aliens Act, your First and Fifth Amendments are gone when that is invoked, when it is in action. Well, what does military government say about that? Military government specifically outlines that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are suspended during a time of war of such nature when you have the validities of that. So all these influencers also are captured, like X is captured. Recently, you've seen Palantir be announced to be the new app for AI for the military. All right, all these rhinos and never Trumpers surface and they're going crazy. They have our information. I'm like, did you not read the article? The article says they're compiling data from existing databases. They already had your information, and Palantir started working with the military in 2011. So see, people prove that they don't read, you don't study, and I say it, I know it sounds bad sometimes, but I say it as lighthearted as possible. The better technology gets, the dumber Americans get. You have everything right in front of you. You have a computer daily. You have a phone in your hand all the time, which is no longer a phone anymore. It's a miniature computer because you have Google access daily. You have everything you need. You're just looking for truth in all the wrong places, kind of like a new version of the country song. You're looking for truth in all the wrong places and all the wrong faces. If you want to know what's going on, you got to know who's in command. And in military government, it talks about this in our military government and martial law proper, and also a thing called military law and precedents, who are all written by colonels, generals, etc. In there, it says you got to know who's in command and what are they using in law. Every bit of President Trump's laws invoke outlines this. Now look at this. I just was talking to a friend right before the panel tonight, and I was telling people, I said, I've forgotten more than some people know. And then I said something on the phone that made me think, you know what, the next panel that we have talk about this. And lo and behold, we're talking about it. I'm going to bring this back up. They had to show to the people out there that a war started in Israel with a music festival with these kamikaze pilots, right? Because people have to have drama in order to get them engaged, which is pathetic to all of us with intellect. But President Trump said, you got to give the people what they want. People love drama, so they got to have it dealt out that way. Well, on October 7th, 2023, and we have sir here, Rob here, who was a pilot, in 2023, in 1 week's time, ladies and gentlemen, my friend Siggy Flicker, she loves it when I rattle off. In 1 week's time, in Israel, these are the military aircraft that they displayed to you on live radar that anybody could get on if you know how to click on it and filter out to the military aircraft. In 1 week's time, you had Sweden, you had France, Germany, Belgium, Romania. You had the UAE, Nigeria, Algeria, New Zealand, Australia, Japan. You had also Argentina, Mexico, U.S., Canada. You had a lot of other nations sprinkled in there. You had Turkey, different in 1 week's time. And then the kicker, they were telling all the target audience out there that Russia and Ukraine were in a heated war and all this other stuff. So I guess Ukraine and Russia just had a chance to go, you know what? We hate each other and the world thinks we hate each other. We're in a war, but we're going to pause because there's a humanitarian effort going on down here in Israel. Russia and Ukraine aircrafts were in Israel with all those other aircrafts. It's a world operation. So there's two things, what you got to see and what you don't know, or what you can know. And then when you see it, you're going to realize, wait, this is a world operation. It's biblical, historical, monumental. But where you can't sit on your thumb is knowing that, okay, yeah, we're taking care of it. You can't be in a demand position to the command going, get it done. Why is it taking so long? And all these other things. You need to realize that, like these gentlemen said, great points, that, look, you're the beneficiary of sitting on your thumb, not knowing the three branches of government. You've heard me on my podcast talk about it. 68% of 350 million people, if you walked up to them on the street, said, name the three branches of government. Don't tell me what they do. Don't tell me any names. Just simply name the three branches titles. People can't name them. So how can you demand to the command what you think you want, what you think you want to see? And personally, do I believe in justice? Absolutely. But it's an atrocity when we have people who can't even name the three branches of government, yet you want to see executions of people dying. There's something wrong with you on that level as well. Do you need to see justice? Sure. But the product of justice is the product of laziness and complacency of the things you're supposed to know to prevent the evil from ever having a chance to even grow in the ground, to even have a chance to be fertilized, to have a chance to grow, to have a chance to flourish.
Wow. Thank you, Derek. A couple of quick takeaways, folks. You know, it's a military government. You are on the battlefield. We, the people, are the target. Pay attention to detail. You're hearing but not listening. Some great takeaways. Thank you, Derek. Let's, the interest of our time, let's be brief on this next question, because I've got some other things I know are on the minds of our viewers and I want to make sure we get to, including a trip to see Elvis Presley's home. We're going to talk about that later. But let's get into Iran for a moment here. And again, to the panel, let's be brief on this. We're going to move into another subject. There seemed to, back to Colonel Bosey, Lieutenant Colonel Bosey, there seems to be conflicting reports as to when Epic Fury will officially end. Michael Jacobs just revealed the information of more than likely boots on the ground. So there are conflicting reports concerning the end of the operation. Okay, so that's part A of what I'm getting at. So please comment on that, as well as delving into the importance. We touched on it already, some of us. So again, we'll be brief. The importance of the Straits of Hormuz. Why is that area so important? What's being done there? How does that play out? And And how long will Epic Fury go on?
Epic Fury started before we heard Epic Fury started. It will continue beyond when we are told Epic Fury ends, because nobody's going to get the whole picture. And just so we understand that, there are objectives to be achieved post the stated reason for the conflict, and that will continue. And boots on the ground in this case, just so to calm people's spirits, this is not Iraq 2.0, nothing like it, not even close. We're not talking regime change, we're talking leadership change, and there are multiple objectives that are unseen apart from the obvious. So let's talk about the obvious. So that's Epic Fury. If they give you a date, it's not real. Don't believe it. It's still going on. Point number two, question number two, the Straits of Hormuz, quick rundown. 20% of the world's seaborne oil goes through the strait. It represents something between 60 and 80% of the revenues, say, of Saudi and the UAE, which means they're terribly interested in the Straits of Hormuz. In fact, one of my first jobs when I hit the Middle East was to do some planning to prevent Iran from doing exactly what they're doing in terms of threatening the Straits. But that's the stated reason. Now, is it oil the only thing going through? Sorry, one more thing with the oil. If the oil remains cut off or is cut off, because it's still flowing, if it is cut off, then China, India, and the Japanese economies are hit dramatically. And that's going to have a cascading effect around the planet, because many countries around the planet, by design, are now reliant upon India, China, and Japan for things they should be doing themselves. So that's sort of an obvious reason. But beyond that, the Straits of Hormuz issue also speaks to the control of the City of London. As we know, it's been said before, Iran's been a proxy of the City of London. It's been allowed to exist because it is a very effective method of control for the City of London and the British Empire. Choke points generally are part of a naval strategy that was described by Alfred Thayer Mahan, a US naval captain, who described naval strategy much like Clausewitz did for land strategy. He did that 120 years ago. And it's still a key point, because what Mahan said was, don't have a navy and have it sail the ocean blue. Just find the choke points. You can control trade. You can control the passage of naval vessels. You control the planet. And that's another part to it. Then you've got, not only is oil being trafficked or being shipped through the straits, but also everything that you can think that should be nasty. At the least of these, which is the illegal oil and precious metal trade that it goes through, and then it starts to descend into where. Child trafficking, human trafficking, adrenochrome trafficking, and it just continues. So it's not just oil. There's a whole, as I said, many sub-objectives to be achieved. And I'll stop here and let others have a shot, but I'll also say one more thing about Iran. Do you remember the story? And I'm asking this for a friend. Let's just put it that way. Do you remember the story? The tomb of Gilgamesh we went into Iraq allegedly because Saddam was a bad man. And yet one of the priority objectives were, and this might not be true, I don't know, was to recover the artifacts from the tomb of Gilgamesh. Well, there might just be, and I don't think I'm giving anything away here, there might just be, let's say, a satanic reason for getting into Iran and taking and clearing a few things out as a control center for not just oil, not just money and power, not just for choke points, but for some deeper need that needs to be taken out that we won't hear about for some time. So that's a quick rundown in answer to your question. I'll leave some space for the others.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll comment later. I've got something to say, but I'll get the panel in. Same question to Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox. Straits of Hormuz, you want to break that down? And I guess we won't be asking when this operation will end. What a foolish question that is. And you won't get the answer, whether we know it or not. But anyway, take it on, sir, if you will, please.
Well, there's some interesting things about the Middle East. And I was reading a book today, written some time back, And it seems there are a large number of portals in the Middle East. And one of the things the Khazarians are looking for is to get to their portals so they can escape the United States and the world. And Iran has a number of portals, which goes outside of our normal discussion, but it goes to the idea that it's not just about here, it's about out there. The other thing is, because of the Khazarians, and we look at the city of London, the Rothschilds are in fact Khazarians. And they have controlled the finances for a large part of the world for hundreds of years. And closing them down in London, I saw something yesterday or day before, is that when you close down the Rothschilds in Iran, you're going to also close down the Rothschilds in Israel, which is the number one trafficker of humans in the world. And so when we start to look at what we're doing in Iran, we're really getting ready to close down Israel as well. The Strait of Hormuz is interesting because if we say it's 20% of the world's oil that moves across there, and then we look at what Trump has done in the United States, which has reopened our leadership as the largest oil producer in the world, China and Japan will be coming to the United States to buy all their oil. They see your smile. And because we control Venezuela, which is also a very, very large producer of oil, China will also go to Venezuela, but they'll be going through the United States to get it. So when we look at that concept, and then we start to look at the question that Ricardo asks about all of the artifacts. There are artifacts in Iran and in other places in the Middle East that those people who like to go dig for them have been forbidden to go dig for, because they reveal a lot about the ancient history of the world, the earth. I think that's enough.
Thank you very much. Wow. You know, it's interesting. Just a quick comment to our viewers. My line of questioning thus far has not included the word London or Israel yet. That's the names that keep coming up, does it not, when we discuss the operation? So that's very, very telling. And again, to Derek's point, you're hearing, but are you listening? Very, very good stuff. And I just quick comment on this. We won't go there today. The portals that you referred to, Lieutenant Colonel Lennox, and the galactic off-planet issues, the UFOs, the aliens, and all that. We're going to take that on a little deeper as our commander-in-chief and president starts to drip out those top secret files. Then we'll coattail along that, and we'll get into that. So come back and listen, because that day is coming. Same question to Micheal, jaco. Straits of Hormuz. You know, if you want to break that, you covered it before, but break that down further if you wish.
Yeah. So the problems of the Middle East basically originate from Iran, and also all the way back to the city of London with the financing. So I spent over 30 years, 3 decades in the Middle East. Tier 1. SEAL Team 6, and also CIA high levels, running down terrorists and so forth. It was pretty much funded by Iran. So we have to take out Iran. So it's basically we've squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and now we're down to the last kernel of this compromised system of humanity, and we started to go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole. I love that, but we can save that for another time. But Rothschilds are being their bank accounts are being seized in France right now. Now, just a few days ago, Le Pen won several elections in France. So the conservative side finally overcoming 4 decades worth of communist rule that was started by the CIA, funded by the CIA throughout Europe, taking down politicians and so forth, and inserting communist leadership, which basically is controlled by all the different intelligence agencies, and then of course further up the chain, where we start to get into those very dark forces that we kind of alluded to here in a couple of these gentlemen. Fantastic work. So also in Germany, overcoming massive fraud in the elections, and good conservatives coming forth in Germany. So I think we're going to continue to see this wave of conservative, good people that are coming in to basically take down this evil. Rothschild, like we talk about, the financing, follow the money, the financing side of this, all the way back to the city of London. We're still at war. Revolutionary War never stopped. All right. So we're still in, if you will, a second revolutionary war against the city of London, right? The British Empire, which is the city of London. So we have to take that down. We have to destroy that as well. I've talked about how, maybe we should just invade the city of London, but there's more, very subtle ways that Donald Trump is taking down the city of London. And I appreciate the way he's doing this. And that will preserve a lot of lives. It will also preserve a lot of territory that would otherwise be destroyed. You might think otherwise from what's going on in Iran right now with all the over 8,000 missile strikes and bombs and so forth that we've hit, targets that we've hit in Iran at this point. Over 8,000, amazing. But these are precision strikes, and then eventually what we saw in Afghanistan and Iraq. Afghanistan, we just had a few horse soldiers that were calling in, strikes and basically took down the Taliban. In northern Iraq, we had, some Air Force CCT guys that came in and called in fire and basically devastated Saddam's military in the northern area. So we'll probably see the same thing in Iraq. I believe that we'll probably see boots on the ground in Iraq or in Iran. And if we don't, that's great. But, from my perspective, it looks like it's moving in that direction with all the forces that are going there. Why would we be sending 2 different MU groups there and 82nd Airborne, like we saw today, going into somewhere in the Middle East, probably Saudi Arabia, I would assume, and then launching from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's basically said, continue the war, President Trump. Israel said, continue the war, President Trump. So President Trump is like, we'll negotiate while our troops move into place, right? So that's, I think, where we're at.
Well, you said boots on the ground. You mean Iran, not Iraq, just for clarification, correct?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Iran. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you. And Michael, before we move on to Rob Cunningham, I want to, we've talked about before correcting George W. Bush on what the real axis of evil is, and of course it's London, the Vatican, and DC. But in terms of hierarchy of command and control,